Hey, how's it going, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Blast from the Past, but this time we're just chatting. Not doing the proper movie review. That'll be next week, and next week, get ready for it. I'll go ahead and tell you what it's going to be right now. We're going to be doing The Maltese Falcon, one of my all-time favorites, the movie that helped to pave the way for film noir going into the future. I mean, and it influenced so many others that are timeless masterpieces that have stood the test of time. You know, I'm talking Chinatown, even though that director deserves to be hung from a fucking tree. I'm talking Blade Runner. All these amazing movies that lasted through the ages. Dirty Harry got some inspiration from the classics of film noir, and Maltese Falcon paved that way. So get ready for next week. Megan will be back next week. She is not here this week, so you get just my illustrious nature spewing onto the screen for you. And we're just gonna chat today, talk about different things that different bits of media that I feel I can be thankful for, you know, following the Thanksgiving theme of yesterday being Thanksgiving, today being Black Friday. But I thought, you know, I'll talk about some media that I'm thankful for, things that either got me through tough times or just things that have had a long-standing impact on me. You know, games or film series, when I got to the end, gave me some catharsis, you know, something we might commonly refer to as the feels. I'm constantly on the search for like songs and movies and games that give me that feeling of the feels. That's kind of what I go for, which is really just a profound feeling of closure and longing and catharsis, you know, things that media have for centuries have been trying to go for. I try to find the shit that hits me just right. So that's kind of what I'm going to be sharing today, is those shows that in movies that, particularly when they wrap up at the end, you know, you get that nice the feels. That's what I'm always looking for in my entertainment. Not always, but I think those are the ones that really stand out that I tend to stick with over time. Either that or they've got to be like really funny. That's one of the other ones. Like Venture Bros is just 10 out of 10. I mean, I'm rocking the hoodie right now for Shallow Gravy. Venture Bros will always keep me going. I'll show up for anything they come out with. I'm really hoping they finish that movie. I would rather wait for it and have it be amazing. First, gonna say hi to everybody here in the chat. We got a Robert Lowry. What's up, my ninjas? Ninjas. I'm safe. Algorithm, don't get me. Ninja, please. Ninja, you tripping. And we got a hail from your Bommy. Good to see you, your Bommy. No hot chick, clickbait. Yeah, I will use clickbait. Do not put that past me. I am not above using clickbait and using females who are, I mean, just about any females more attractive than me, you know, short of like Tess Holliday or Kathy Griffin. They're pretty much all better looking than me. So don't put that beyond me. I will do that. Well, let's hop right into it. Talk about, you know, I've been talking about it a lot lately. I still got my scarf right here, so you know what? I'll rep my scarf while we talk about it. But did want to bring up, and not just the movies, but the books too, for Harry Potter. Only got the year 1 to 6 Blu-ray set because I already had year 7, so figured I'd save about $15 and get just 1 through 6 rather than doubling up on the Blu-rays for, you know, the year 7, 1, and 2. But Harry Potter, it's always a good go-to. It's typically what I watch around the Christmas holidays, actually, which, you know, even with the parade they have up in New York, Christmas starts after Thanksgiving. You got to get through all of fall. Got to get past all of fall before you can get to Christmas. But these are Christmas time movies for me. It's Harry Potter because you get the Christmas scenes in them. They're just nice and fun and, you know, good wholesome films. And I feel like this time of the year is where it's best to get into fantasy personally, because after October, like I run through 31 horror movies in October, so it's like back to back for 31 days. I am just inundated with horror films. And so I like to get to something wholesome, a lot of cheesy fantasy this time of year. I was watching the Mythica movies a couple of weeks ago, like right after Halloween. I was like, all right, I need some just cheesy fantasy. So I popped on the Mythica films, enjoyed those. But Harry Potter's always been a solid go-to for me, especially like I was the perfect age for this. So the books, when those were coming out, big influence on me growing up. And I am thankful for J.K. Rowling putting these out. And you know what? Unlike all of these people on the left who haven't had to deal with this before, I can separate the art from the artist. And despite the fact that I have many disagreements with her political views as well, even though I find most of them to be fairly reasonable, I think we're just coming up to different conclusions while using, a fair amount of critical thinking. I think that J.K. Rowling, for disagreements I have with her, is coming to a conclusion using critical thinking. So I'll support her, even though I don't agree with her 100%, but for other people, that's not good enough. She's got to be lockstep. I'm not going to do that. So putting Harry Potter out there, something I'm thankful for. Always a good time to watch these movies, and I run from them top to bottom. Ooh, it is getting too warm to wear that. Oh. But yeah, the books too. Like, I was the right age for both the books and the movies coming out. I think I was a little bit younger than Harry when the books were coming out, except for the last book. I think I was 17 when the last book came out, and so I was like perfect age lined up right there. But the movies, I was 11 when those started coming out, and the movies came out a lot faster than the books. But you know, they're all well made, and I am thankful for these. And I was thankful for going down to Universal Studios, going to the Harry Potter world. Absolutely loved that. Going into the Harry Potter world definitely gave me the feels. That 100% got me there. Oh, got some more people hopping into the chat. Daniel, yes, thank you. Nice sweater. Wasn't a sweater, just a scarf. Just rocking my Slytherin scarf, but that was too much heat right here. This is why I chopped off so much of my hair. When I started streaming, my hair was like really long, and then I cut off like up to about shoulder length, and then recently, like I chopped that shit. Still fairly long though, you know, compared to someone with a buzz cut or a flat top. So, and I couldn't stand that heat being around my neck. So like if I'm wearing a scarf, it's got to be cold, and it wasn't cold enough in here, so I had to ditch the scarf. But just showing my love. Yes, happy American National Holiday to you, Stephen, and everyone. Yes, thank you. We are having a good National American Holiday. I think Black Friday is probably the most American holiday you can have. It's like the ultimate holiday for capitalism. Its prices go down, spending goes up. It's what they're trying to do. They're just trying to get those books to even back out, go into the black. And then from there, hopefully it'll be all profit for the last part of the year for the holiday season. So, you know, it's the purpose of Black Friday. Gotta try and aid the companies in going forward, you know, because they're not all completely corporatized and trying to just squeeze every last penny out of you. But I digress. Yes, and Robert saying thank you. Heron, good to see you, Heron. Good evening, everyone. So everybody in the chat say hi to Heron. Oh, you guys are already ahead of me. Was awesome having Harry Potter and Lord of the Rings back to back. Yes, it was. It was Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings, and you know what? For all their flaws, I liked them back then. I still like them now, but I don't go back to them that often. The Star Wars prequels, not the worst movies to ever come out. People shit on them. They don't hold up to the original. The style is completely different, and I think that's the biggest failing of the Star Wars prequels is the ships look completely different. The style just doesn't translate from one to the other. Like, it doesn't feel like the way that a stylistic shift should go. It would be one thing, you know, people change how they dress over time. You know, we go through this decade by decade thing where people change what is normally how you dress and everything. But we tend to go sleeker over the years. And then, well, I don't know, I guess we do kind of go sleeker and then we'll shoot right back to like boxy with hard angles. If the Tesla truck would be anything to that. So we went from the 50s, which were kind of big and bubbly, to the 60s, which were more not as big, but still very bubbly looking, particularly like vehicles and things like that. And then 70s, it's all back to hard angles, big freaking huge front ends. It's where you get some of the best muscle cars of all time, is the 70s. I'm going completely off course here. Star Wars. Not the worst films ever. And you know what? Early 2000s, late 90s into early 2000s, that's what we were getting. You know, Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings, Star Wars. It was awesome. It was a great time to be a movie fan. And I miss it at times, but you know what? It's coming back. We're going to get it back. It'll take time. But movies will be good again. I'm going to go ahead and call it. It's going to take some time, but we're going to get there. Let's see. Zombie Box Reviews. Welcome. Thank you for joining us. I was 14 when the first movie came out. Okay, the first Harry Potter movie. I was 11. So I was like the right age, same age as Harry in that first movie. But you know what happened? I'll tell you why. I never got my letter, because when I would have been born around that time period, because the Harry Potter movies take place between 1990 and 1997, they would have taken my birth records out of the Ministry of Magic when Voldemort had control of the Ministry of Magic. So they took my records out of there. They never knew that I was should have been a wizard and go to whatever I can't remember. There's some fan fiction of the American version of Hogwarts. I can't remember what it's called. But yeah, see, I should have gone there, but nope, they screwed me over. And a Phil. How goes it, Phil? Glad to... Oh, excuse me. Oh, yeah, leftovers. I've been eating leftovers today. Oh. And got some of that leftovers indigestion because I ate way too much yesterday. And I kind of ate too much today. But you know what? That's part of what this holiday is all about, being fat and lazy. And I love it. Let's see. Heron was 10 when the first movie came out. So yeah, we're about the same age then. On Small Time Republic. Yes, as same man, too many leftovers. Ooh, yeah, it got me. My eyes were too big. Pie for breakfast. No, we didn't bring any pie home from the in-laws. We went to the wife's folks' house for Thanksgiving because they live close. So it's it was nice, just the four of us, and had a nice meal, ate some pie, went home. We didn't get any pie to take home. Apparently there was some, but it was forgotten there. But I did have a donut for breakfast. Well, actually, I had a donut for lunch. I had eggs, bacon, and toast for breakfast. So, no pie for breakfast. Looking great, thank you. Yes, I showered this week. It's quite jarring. Oh, having pie for breakfast is quite jarring. Yes, filament. I heard about that. Someone calling you filament. Yes, I did have turkey. You gotta have turkey with Thanksgiving. That's the thing. Christmas, it's up in the air. You can have goose, you can have ham. Heck, you could have steak on Christmas, and I'm not gonna give you any crap. But Thanksgiving, you gotta have turkey. That's how it goes. Early 2000s was an amazing time for movie. Yes, that's when we had, in my opinion, we had crested the pinnacle. We had crested the peak of movies, and it was starting to come down a little bit, but we were still like really high above what is just the okay range, and they slowly came down, and around, I want to say 2013 is where we were getting to the point that movies were still coming out good, but not great, going past the good line. And after about 2015, it's been movies crashing downward very quickly. Once in a while, something will pop up and be pretty damn good. Can't say I've seen too many new movies that knocked my socks off. I enjoyed the hell out of Top Gun Maverick. I bought that on Blu-ray, got that coming. I think it's going to be perfectly, it'll be worth buying on Blu-ray. I'll watch it again multiple times in the future. Just not that many movies that have really stood out to me and as Tommy Chung would say, grab me by the boo-boo. Yes, you're a wizard, Steven. Yep, yeah, never got that. They stole my card. Let's see, never got into Harry Potter. Can't stand the whiny protagonist. Yeah, I could see that. Particularly the first movie. Yeah, there's a lot of griping that goes on. First two, I'd say, really have a lot of griping. Third one gets a little bit better. And then after that, it just progressively gets better until the end. They get less whiny overall until the last movie, but there is a mechanical reason within there that they're being all angsty teen. Same with the sixth one, fifth movie. Yeah, fifth movie had a lot of teen angst in it as well. But there's reasons for it, they don't just make him angsty because. Yes, he is blaming the leftovers. Steven nearly threw up seeing me. Oh yeah, you know what? It happens to me too, people. Yeah, people see me and it's just, you get used to it, you know. So I feel you. I'm empathetic to you there. Heron, way more Lord of the Rings. You know what? Yes, Lord of the Rings is better overall, and I meant to grab that one, but you know that one's important to me. I have a damn series that I need to get back to working on. Going over the scenes one by one for Lord of the Rings. So I definitely am more Lord of the Rings than Harry Potter. I meant to grab that, but I forgot. Yes, I became a true overweight American today. Then yes, I've been an overweight American for a while. About 10 years, I'd say. I've been really overweight. When I moved to Georgia, I was a healthy weight. I was like 175, 180. I'm about 6 foot. And yeah, so I was a nice healthy weight when I moved down here to Georgia. It was a specific summer that is referred to in infamy with my friend group as the Summer of Caesar. We spent an entire summer between school semesters eating pizza, drinking cubes, the 24-pack cubes of Citrus Drop, not Mountain Dew, but Citrus Drop, which has more sugar and more caffeine, well, at least more sugar than Mountain Dew. Spent that entire summer sitting down, playing tabletop games, eating pizza, and drinking Mountain Dew. It was an amazing summer. And I became overweight then. I hit like 190 by the end of the summer, put on 15 to 20 pounds, and really haven't gone back down. I've put on more muscle since then, so that's how I justify it, but I'm fatter than before. I'll admit it. Same here, prefer to Lord of the Rings over Harry Potter. Hey, nothing wrong with that. I would say that Lord of the Rings has a stronger lore to it. Has to have a stronger fandom as well. I mean, Harry Potter had the big flash throughout the 90s or throughout the 2000s, but it hasn't had the staying power of Lord of the Rings, I'll say. People talk way more about how bad Rings of Power is and are legitimately upset about the destruction to the lore that Rings of Power brought than what happened with the Fantastic Beast movies just being mediocre. And no one really talked about the Fantastic Beast movies being mediocre. It's not a thing. No one cares. Don't watch them. Move on. Rings of Power getting fucked with to piss people off. So I agree. I think it's better, personally. But I love it. I'm thankful for it. It went on the list. All right. Before I get completely caught up in the chat here, I'm going to bring out another one. And this time I'm going to talk about a video game after I take a quick hit from my electronic nicotine box. Man, these things are like so that I both love and hate them, right? Like, I think about them as some William Gibson-esque cyberpunk instrument of being able to inject, drugs into your system through inhaling the vapors. But at the same time, it doesn't exactly incentivize me to actually quit anything. It's just supplanting one bad habit for another. You know what? Before I move on, talking about the early 2000s, yes, you had the Pirates of the Caribbean movies, also solid trilogy that they needed to end at a damn trilogy. I saw that fourth movie in theaters with the wife. Not at the time she was the girlfriend, now the wife. But yeah, we went and saw that movie together, and it was so fucking awful. It was horrible. We hated it. We both walked out of there like, well, that was shit. I wish I hadn't spent money on that. And that was before movies were stupid expensive. But yes, video game series wanted to bring up. I'm actually replaying through them right now, and but I'm playing the newer edition. They've been remastered recently, and so far I'll actually say I've been enjoying the remasters. It's a solid redoing of the games, and that is Mass Effect. Yes, I have the PlayStation 3 version. I did not have Xbox, so I missed out on them on Xbox. Had to go with PS3. But you know what? I paid $60 for all three games when they came out. They're on sale on Steam right now for the Legendary Edition for $20, and I wasn't complaining about that. I was like, you know what? I've been wanting to replay them. I didn't want to bust out the PlayStation 3 because the thing's a damn dinosaur these days, and the load times alone are ridiculous. So I wanted to, I've been enjoying replaying through them. I'm about 7 hours into the first game, so they think I just picked up Liara in my crew. great games. Great, absolutely great games. Loved them when I first played them on PS3. I didn't play them on the Xbox at all. So I got to experience them a little bit later than everyone else. But all three games I love. I think that if I were to give a quick breakdown of the three games, is that Mass Effect 1 has the best story. Mass Effect 2 has, I would say, probably the most engaging gameplay overall, or at least the missions. Each mission is very quick, back to back. You have a structure that going forward. It's build up get the team, build up the team, take on the suicide mission. There you go. It's very cut and dry for you. Very easy to just move forward in that game and have a plan moving into it. Also, it did improve the scanning planets was better, I guess, than going around and collecting all the shit in the frickin' shitty Jeep. And the third game, I think, polishes up, tries to combine the two of them, and does a pretty damn good job. The problem is when you try to polish up, and when you try to take the best parts of two games that have fairly different structures, you wind up kind of getting a middle ground between the two of them. So it doesn't do Mass Effect 1 as well as Mass Effect 1. It doesn't do Mass Effect 2 as well as Mass Effect 2, but it does combine the two elements that made it good into its own good game. And you know what? I actually stand by the ending of Mass Effect 3. I know that's a hot take on the internet, but I actually stand by the ending for it. I don't have a problem when a series, games, movies, what have you, has the balls to kill off their main character in a strong, impactful way, where I think they do kind of fail with that thing in Mass Effect 3. Is that it's very quick. The end cutscene feels very quick compared to how much buildup was there, and you basically get the biggest issue I see with it is you basically get a 3 to 4 minute, cartoon. That's kind of like the it's kind of like the interactive comic that you get at the beginning in Mass Effect 2 if you don't have a previous game save from Mass Effect 1 to port in. I think it was too quick and a little bit too rushed on the ending. They should have worked to make all three of them. Oh, excuse me, that indigestion coming back. They should have worked harder to make all three of them, or all three of the different ending choices, more individual and more unique. But it's basically coming to the same outcome, which the outcome is going to be save the galaxy, no matter how you get to it. But I don't know. I've actually saved the game right at the end and then gone through and watched all three endings back to back. And when you watch them all back to back, they feel very samey. Some of them even have the same clips at different parts, but just get you to the same ending. So I do feel like they somewhat failed there, but the rest of the journey getting there is amazing. And honestly, right up until that moment of you actually making the choice and then moving forward, game is amazing. It's until you get to that very end cutscene, and it's just kind of lackluster. But, how do you end something like that? Oh well. You put up with the not fantastic ending to Mass Effect 3, but still decent, and the rest of the journey is amazing. Mass Effect 1, great freaking ending. Mass Effect 2, great boss fight at the end, and then a solid ending to it, but not as strong as Mass Effect 1. Mass Effect 3, amazing up until that last freaking scene. Overall, great game series. Highly recommend to anyone who hasn't played them. As long as you're a fan of single-player shooters, it's an over-the-shoulder shooter. Before the style got extremely popular, BioWare kind of helped to popularize the over-the-shoulder cover shooter. This is kind of helped to popularize it. I'd say Gears of War probably really through that. They expanded it, Mass Effect. I don't want to say Mass Effect walked so Gears could run, because I think Mass Effect has had longer fan appeal than Gears of War, because that game's kind of died off and people are still playing and talking about Mass Effect. So that's another one I am thankful for. I'm looking forward to completing all three games again. This will be the third time I've gone through and played all three games. And I'll say there's just little not lifestyle changes, quality of life changes in the Legendary Edition that I really like. The lens flare issue that was really apparent in that trailer doesn't seem to be that big of a problem. I'm going to be honest. It really doesn't seem to be that big of a problem in the game itself. Because the originals do actually have a bit of lens flare in there. They're just much more conservative with when they use the lens flare, whereas the intro trailer, the teaser trailer we saw before they started selling the game seemed like they were going overboard J.J. Abrams style with that lens flare. I haven't seen the biggest issue with it though, so we'll see how it is through the rest of it. So far, I've been enjoying the hell out of the Legendary Editions. Heron is currently playing Mass Effect 3 right now. You know what? I stan Mass Effect 3. I think it's a great game. I also typically play Vanguard, and so Mass Effect 3, I honestly haven't gotten to 3 as any of the other classes in that game. And I can tell you, Mass Effect 3, Vanguard is a friggin' tank. You're constantly moving, constantly pushing damage, constantly using your shields to stun enemies, and then immediately getting them right back by charging people. It's, you get on kind of this loop, but I enjoy it. It's, charge in, shotgun blast, do the biotic wave thing that knocks them all back a little bit. shotgun blast, do the jump in the air, punch the ground like Superman and make a stun field around you, shotgun blast, and then charge again. And you just kind of do that over and over again, and it gets a bit cyclical, but I don't know, I enjoy it. That's how I like playing the game. Let's see. Letter or not, get a pet owl. I would have a pet owl. The owls are friggin' awesome. I have 3 cats. They're like ground owls. Owls are like flying cats. Cats are like ground owls. So, we'll take split the difference there. Steven looks like a wizard with that beard. Oh, yes. Actually, one year for Halloween, 2 Halloweens ago, I didn't have any big plans this. So 2021 Halloween, I dressed up as Gandalf. I went out and bought a Gandalf costume that came with a big beard, but I didn't want to put the fake beard over my actual beard, so I just ran with the regular beard, and so it's just the gray hat, the gray robe, a belt, and it came with this satchel thing, but it was all really shitty material because I bought it from not even Spirit, like a costume store that was cheaper than Spirit. So I dressed up as, I was supposed to be Gandalf, but I was just a wizard, and I went out and I doubled up on the costume because I went to a fireworks shop and I picked up some firecrackers and the little popper things that come in the paper popper things come in the sawdust, and the snappers. That's what they're called, snappers. So yeah, I was running around lighting the firecrackers and yelling Avada Kedavra and throwing them, or Alakazam Expecto My Patronum, doing all of that stuff. I don't think I had a staff with me, though. I did not have a proper staff to go with the look. But yes. Let's see. An overweight Brit from Zombie Box. Yeah, so everywhere needs their fat people. You know what? Being a fat person is you are now the spokesperson of your society winning. We no longer have starvation as a major issue. We have too many fat people. Our society is winning. Gotta get that old man strength, says Godzillionaire. You know what? Old man strength is a legit thing. I have seen it in action happen. Not super muscular old dude or anything. The guy's been doing blue collar work his whole life. That dude's got some old man strength. You don't expect it. His arms aren't huge or anything like that, but he grabs a freaking pry bar and moves that shit when you can't. Dude, old man strength is a thing. Daniel says, Mass Effect 3, haven't played it, only the first one, but I heard something controversial about the ending or something. Yeah, the ending, it's abrupt. That's the big thing that's where the controversy really goes down. I kind of spoiled a little bit there, but, people complain about something else from the ending that I don't think is the real problem. That was the major criticism. I think it's that it's very abrupt and feels kind of quick. And it feels like the ending is almost brushed under the rug, whereas they've spent all of this other time doing some amazing world building and character building and learning about all of these different civilizations. and the force that you're contending with, the enemy that you're dealing with has been built up so much that the ending feels rushed. All previous decisions are carried over to the next game. That's what I love about Mass Effect. Yes, there are only 2.75 Mass Effect games. Just saved Legion from the Geth Dreadnought. Yes. Actually, my first run through, my first playthrough of the games, Legion died on the suicide mission. Did not make it through. And we've got a Dr. Jester here. Yes, welcome. Let me just mark my territory like a dog. There, done. Yes, thank you. Might want to be careful with acting like a dog around my house. I got one of my cats has no fear of dogs. Well, actually, she's very afraid of dogs, and she reacts poorly, I'll say, and tends to slice people open. She just slices people open. That's just what she does. It's the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull of Mass Effect. I wouldn't say it's nearly as bad as Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. That's an unfair comparison. Yes, I like the end of Mass Effect 3 unsubbed. Yeah. I like the aspect of that game. Let's see. Mass Effect 3, save the cheerleaders, save the world. Okay, now there's a more disappointing ending to a show. Frickin' Heroes. Heroes Season 1, man, that shit grabbed you, right? Like, especially when it was coming out. I caught it just after the first season had ended, so I was able to binge the whole thing after I found it in bots on the high seas. You binge, like, the entirety of Heroes, and then you get to Season 2, and you're like, what the fuck happened here? Mass Effect 3 isn't even close to that. ME3 is the Return of the Jedi of that franchise. No, unfair comparison, because Return of the Jedi is a solid ending, damn it. Return of the Jedi is good. I don't care what people say. Yes, hi, Kitty. Speaking of a kitty that has no respect for myself or anyone else, there she is. Oh, Legendary Edition did a great job updating the graphics of Mass Effect 1. Yes, that's where I'm sure the biggest changes are compared to Mass Effect 1. I even played a bit of Mass Effect 1 before on my PS3 version before I got into the other ones. Before I bought the Legendary Edition. I won't lie, dealing with the frickin' load times on PlayStation 3 made me want to get it on PC even more. And so far, yes, that's where I've seen the best changes. Particularly, I mean, the graphics do look good. I expected that. The little quality of life changes have actually been my favorite aspect so far. Kitty, dude. Yeah, I don't need to see my screen or anything. Yeah, thank you. Just go. All right, fine. Come here. The one that I think I like the most is in order to crouch down in front of a short, one of the half-size barriers for cover, is you no longer have to run up to it, crouch, and then push against it. You can just run up to it and you'll automatically crouch. It's a small difference, but it's the difference of not having to push down the left stick, hitting L3 when you get to a half-size barrier. So you're going to scroll down a bit, try and catch back up before we got a Duck Dangerously in here. Welcome, Duck Dangerously. Glad to see you. Been a while since Phil played Mass Effect. Might have to get back into them. You know what? I'm enjoying the heck out of it. I played back through them during the lockdowns, actually, in 2020, which only lasted 6 weeks for us. But that's when I played through them last. And I'm enjoying getting back into them. Let's see, Duck Dangerously went out to drink Wednesday, woke up at 6 a.m. Thursday, did a turkey trot, passed out for 4 hours, went to work, then cooked for coworkers, then did the last of his Black Friday shopping online. That is one hell of a 2-day cycle, man. Yesterday, I woke up, did dishes, folded some laundry, went out to the in-laws, ate too much food, played Pokemon on the couch while digesting my food, ate some pie, went back home, and played Mass Effect until about 2 a.m. It was sweet. I had a nice, relaxing day. You got shit done. I didn't do shit. Nemo to Cat. Is that cat single? She is single. She is, but you You gotta like him crazy, man. She's the hot crazy Matrix transfers to cats. Surprising to know, but it is true. Let's see. Return of the Jedi has a great ending, but it's certainly not the strongest entry in the OG trilogy. See, that's where I actually have the other hot take in this, in that growing up and even as an adult, Return of the Jedi was always my favorite of the original trilogy. And look, that's no shame for Empire Strikes Back, which is widely regarded as the best of the Star Wars trilogy. But in my opinion, I think that Empire Strikes Back is very strong, and it is very necessary to get us to Return of the Jedi, which has its issues, particularly like the first 20 minutes of Return of the Jedi, a little bit rocky in Jabba's palace and everything, even though you get Slave Leia, which is a nice little cherry on top of a cake there, but it's you're expecting a full cake and you get a cupcake for the beginning of Return of the Jedi. But other than that, I think it has the strongest of the endings, despite the fact of how low Luke is at the ending of Empire Strikes Back, which was needed to get us, you got to have that low point before you can have the high point. But I think the ending of Return of the Jedi is the best in the series, has the best lightsaber battle. Certainly the most choreographed lightsaber battle is the end of Return of the Jedi, with a fully realized Jedi Knight Luke versus his father, Darth Vader. The whole time he's pushing to try and get his father to just come back to the light, come back to the side of light, leave behind the dark side. And he goes all the way as to risk his very own life. He is willing to die in the belief that he can bring his father back from the dark side. Something that he couldn't do for his nephew, who might go to the dark side in the future, by the way, which totally doesn't make sense. But I'm getting off on a tangent, going to talk about that friggin' The Last Jedi that doesn't need to be talked about. Friggin' shit movie that I bitched about walking out of the theaters. But yes. I actually think that Return of the Jedi is the strongest entry in original Star Trek. Now, a week away from flying down to Florida for a week with the parents. Man. So, A New Hope had too much boring build-up. Let me think about this for A New Hope, because, A New Hope is classic. It's what created the franchise, right? The strength of the franchise rests on the shoulders of A New Hope. I'm going to have to go back and watch it and see how long it actually takes to get them to the Millennium Falcon for the proper action to really start up. Because before that, there is a lot of buildup, but I think that most of it is fairly necessary for A New Hope. The Luke on Tatooine. Yeah, Luke on Tatooine. I understand that. I'll say Luke is certainly at his whiniest when he's throughout all of A New Hope. That is Luke at his absolute whiniest. But you know what? He has to be there to build up into the great character that we get at the end. We have to have the whiny moments. We have to have Luke being kind of a boring little shit on Tatooine to show us what his life was like and where it starts and where it ends for him, in the two very different places, from where he begins his hero's journey to where he finishes his hero's journey. And you have to go through that part. So I definitely see what you're saying. It is a lot of slow build up at the beginning there, but I think it is necessary to get us to the fantastic ending. Great movie for sure, but second favorite after Empire Strikes Back. Okay, look, everybody has their personal favorite. Like I said earlier, not disparaging Empire Strikes Back, I think it has a very strong ending. I think it's a good movie. Just for me personally, and I might be biased because it was my favorite growing up, was Return of the Jedi as a kid. And I even defend the Ewoks, even though they were supposed to be Wookiees, but it's a lot easier to get a bunch of 3-foot tall people than a bunch of 7-foot tall people, so I get that. Also, the costuming is much cheaper, but even with the Ewoks, I still defend Return of the Jedi. That's just me. That's just me, personally. Luke had the most complete character arc. Yeah, he did. And that's, it's Luke's story is what we're really watching. He is the hero to our hero's journey. And so he had to have a solid character arc. And that was one thing that George Lucas definitely delivered very well for us, was Luke's solid, complete character arc. Yeah, Beta Luke sucks almost as much as Beta Mark Hamill. Yeah, the difference is Beta Luke changes to a different person. Mark Hamill seems to become more beta as the years go by. Y'all know I love the Ewok movies. You know, I actually have not seen the Ewok movies, and I've been meaning to because I have a buddy who friggin' loves them, and I've been meaning to watch the Ewok Adventures because I hear they're fun movies, so I actually need to get to that one of these days. I wanted to be an AT-AT driver, an AT-AT, growing up after seeing Empire Strikes Back. Yes, giant robot camels. Yes. I will say I did rather enjoy it was a short portion, but I thought it was well done. Actually controlling the AT-AT in, what was the damn game? Jedi Fallen Order. The Star Wars game that EA and DICE put out that was actually pretty damn good. Yeah, the AT-AT section of that was a shitload of fun, in my opinion. I don't think it had boring build-up. They actually cut out a lot. He's supposed to have some scenes with his friends on Tatooine, for example. That, yes, I agree. That would have been boring. I think they had just the right amount of build-up to get you from, you know, this very sedentary childhood into going into his journey, moving into the other world as the hero's journey would go. Still love the Imperial uniforms. Imperial uniforms were great, you know, straight out of Hugo Boss. It was good stuff. Fallen Order was decent. Yes, I actually enjoyed Fallen Order. Personally, I thought it was a solid game. Probably not something I'm going to replay anytime soon. Not like Mass Effect. These I'm going to replay again. This will be my third replay. Fallen Order? Probably not. Although I did kind of weird some of my friends out just because it was something like I had thought about and like thinking about it logically, it made sense to me. But a couple of my friends, one of them had beaten the game, the other one watched a spoiler of the ending for the game, and it's while I'm playing and I'm just saying like, oh yeah, you know, there's going to be. I said something about like fighting Vader at the end, and they're just like, wait, have you seen the spoilers for it? I was like, no, but it just makes sense. Like you're in the time period when Vader is going around the galaxy, like being the fist of the Empire's fist, going out and quelling rebellions and keeping the officers in line. Like if you don't fight Darth Vader in this game, what the hell are they doing? And I'll say that was actually kind of disappointing that it basically got brought down to a quick time event. You fight him a little bit. I would have preferred a longer fight with Vader at the end of that game. Like I wanted that to be, you know, you're going to have to grind down and try and beat him. And I think it only took me like 3, maybe 4 tries to beat Vader, which in a game like that isn't much. But yeah, overall, I thought it was a good game. I enjoyed it. They should have released more games when they owned the rights to the Star Wars games. Yeah, but you know, it's EA, so they kind of suck. So I think we got the best we could expect from Fallen Order. Yeah, uniforms definitely inspired by Hugo Boss. Yeah, no high replay value. Took you 8 tries to beat Vader. Well, were you playing on the proper, like, full difficulty? Where if you were on Jedi Master difficulty, I could see that. I'm a bit of a puss on some of these things, so I was like 1 tick below Jedi Master difficulty, the, you know, hard, not ridiculously hard setting. So if you were on that, I could definitely see it taking like 8 tries. But the chick before him, I can't remember her name, she took way harder. She was way harder, in my opinion. Took me way more tries to beat. Let's see. Next up, what should I talk about? I could go here. I got plenty of time left. I could let me go with Parks and Recreation. Love this show. I cannot say how much I love this show. I have watched this over and over again, mostly when it was on Netflix. I only bought the DVDs, the complete collection of DVDs, which really weren't that expensive. I think I paid $60 for all 7 seasons on DVD. Not bad. Now, the quality of the case is kind of lacking. Like, you gotta pry the damn thing open, and it Yeah, it's not the best case. Some of these things actually fall out like very easily. Yeah, you can see like there's a whole section here not connected to the case itself. Um, but $70, you get what you pay for. I love Parks and Recreation. This is a feel-good show for me. It's an easy go-to. Can't decide what to watch tonight. Don't want to go through a bunch of stuff to figure out where you're going to sit down and eat. Watch while you're eating dinner. You can just pop on Parks and Rec. We even do roulette with this, where I'll grab a D8 and anything 1 through 7. That's what season we're going to do, and then D3 to pick a disc. So we do a random episode to start off with, and anytime you can watch that show, I highly suggest it. And you know what? Excellent character build-up in the show. Excellent character building throughout all 7 seasons of the show. Every single character pretty much starts out as a very flawed individual. They have their strengths and they're capable in certain areas, but they are very flawed individuals. And by the time we get to the end, they've all overcome their difficulties. They've learned how to engender the best parts of themselves to help everyone else around them. And they've all grown to be some of them have grown to be important people throughout society by the time you get to the very end, which looks forward into the future. And honestly, the show just gets better and better as you watch it the whole way through, all the way up until the last episode, which is, they landed that 10 out of 10 for the last episode. They hit that. They hit the mark on that one. Even the East German judges gave them a 10 on that landing. Just not enough I could say about it. You have classic characters that came out of this. Characters that have lived past the length of the show in memes, particularly Ron Swanson. Sorry. Ron Swanson. Ron Johnson is probably a porn star. But Ron Swanson, up there with one of the most memed characters. I'd say right behind Michael Scott. Michael Scott would be the most memed character. The Office, I would say, probably has a larger fan base than Parks and Rec. This is kind of the little brother to Parks and Rec. Still very competent, or to The Office, sorry. Still very competent in its own right. And actually, I prefer Parks and Rec to The Office, me personally, but I understand why other people prefer The Office. And I also understand why people don't give Parks and Rec a chance, because the first season is pretty rough, kind of rocky, but it's only 6 episodes. It's not the best start, but you do kind of need to see it to see the full, the full character arcs that go on throughout the show. You kind of need to see season 1. Not entirely needed, but I would suggest actually start at the beginning, watch the entire show. Just great. Amy Poehler, hilarious in this show. Adam Scott is great. The entire cast. Retta as Donna Meagle. Her character goes through, I'd say, probably the biggest changes, because she starts off as this very sort of bland office worker. Like, she's just your very basic kind of checked out office manager type person, or the supervisor more so of the office, whereas Leslie would be the manager and Ron is the head of department. Donna's just kind of the office management. She's kind of bland at the beginning, but by the time you get to the end, very unique character, very well built throughout her time there. Starts getting more lines. First season, they barely used her, and more she gets funnier and funnier and has better lines. You get a bit of improv comedy in here. In fact, Chris Pratt has some of his best improv comedy in here, some great jokes that last. So Parks and Rec, another one. I've watched it many times. I will watch it many times into the future. I can't count how many times I have watched it personally. Let's see what everyone's saying on Parks and Rec. Oh, and how about Force Unleashed, Cloning Jedi? Force Unleashed, they're fun games. That second one, holy crap, is it disappointing how short it is, and there's no point in replaying it. Once you've beaten it, you've beaten it. It's like a 6-hour game. I literally beat the second Force Unleashed in a single sit down. And the first game was short, and people complained about that, and they made the second game shorter as a response. Like, what the hell were they thinking? They're fun. I beat it in one sitting, never touched it again. So that's kind of the problem. Okay, so you did start on Jedi Master and turned it down. Yeah, I just started with one step below. Skip the first season. Like I said, I do suggest people watch it. It's only 6 22-minute episodes for the first season. It's a bit of an investment. I know, and I hate having to tell people with shows to skip the beginning and just go to the better part, but I think you need to stick with the foundation for it. Back before Lucasfilm was bought by Disney, I heard there was going to be a Battlefront 3 that was going to be like the Marvel's What Ifs. Would have loved to see EA adopt the idea. Well, I mean, they came up with their own Battlefront games, and from what I understand, I barely played either of the newer Battlefront games. From what I understand, they're decent. They're not bad. I hear the second game after the loot box controversy actually wound up being a pretty solid game, but you're still having to deal with the fact that they pulled off some of the shadiest and shittiest loot box practices of any company. Parks and Rec is so good. It is so good. I'm adding the so. I'm editorializing your words there, Dr. Jester. Parks and Rec is great. First season was mid, but everything else was good. Really, I'd say third season is where the show really picks up. That's when Chris Traeger and Ben Wyatt show up, and I think that's when you really get the proper cast together and they start moving forward at a better rate. That's where the characters actually start growing bit by bit, is from third season on. Community, another great show to watch. Yes, I completely agree. I do like the show Community. I haven't gone back to watch where they rebooted it on like some weird like streaming service that nobody heard about. What was it, like Yahoo or something? I didn't go back for that. But Community, yes, very funny show. Community is kind of like the darker version of Parks and Rec in that it's the humor is much darker in Community. But I love that show too. I think it's great. Wish they made that movie. Not sure which movie we're talking about. But yeah, there's a lot of shows that ended abruptly that they could have made a movie. I'd say Parks and Rec, if you're talking about that, I don't think Parks and Rec needed a movie. I think the ending to it is solid. And you know what? They got 7 seasons, which is a standard American movie contract. 7 seasons. They got it. They finished it up, wrapped it all up in a nice little bow to send you off, and you get the feels at the end, like I've been talking about. So I'd say it's solid. Watching the Borgias again. Sorry, the door just flew open like a ghost had pushed it open. I'm pretty sure it's the cat. Or maybe there's actual ghost in here. Currently watching The Borgias again, one with Jeremy Irons, is a great show. I have not watched The Borgias. I've had several friends tell me I do need to watch it, though. It's on my to-watch list. I will admit I have a problem of I'll sit down and probably watch a show that I haven't seen before, but I'll just wind up putting on something that I have seen before because it's easy and comfortable, and I don't feel bad if I stop it halfway through, and I don't know if I have that full hour to invest to finishing an episode. So if it's something I haven't seen before, I like to finish it before I move on and really do anything else. So that's part of the reason why I've watched this so many damn times. Parks and Rec got better after the Mark Brendanawicz arc. Yes, agreed. See, like I said, season 3 is where it picked up. Shame they axed that show. Well, the show wasn't actually axed. I think that was a bit of the media out there, journalists were trying to puff it up more than it actually was. They just didn't renew their contract. American film or American TV shows, particularly Hollywood TV shows, but really American network TV shows across the country are contracted for 7 seasons that the studio can cut at any time. But basically, you sign a contract for 7 years when you sign up to do a TV show. Now you can get out of your contract, but there's going to be typically you have to do some kind of payout or something like that, from what I understand. So the studio went through with it and gave them their 7-year contract and decided not to renew. after that. And part of the reason why they do that, typically why a lot of shows end at 7, is because once that contract ends, you then have to re-contract with all of your actors. That's why you see some people drop off after season 7 when a show goes into an 8th season. And sometimes the show gets too expensive and the studios don't think that it's going to generate enough revenue to justify the amount of money that some of these actors are now demanding, because they know if they're trying to get them into an 8th season, that means they're wanted. And that if a lot of actors feel like, well, I can hold the show over my head, I can hold myself over the show's head, the showrunners and the studio, and say, hey, if you don't pay me this much amount of money, I'm not going to be here and you can't make the show. And a lot of people use that to their advantage. Look at Kelly Kuko in that horrible show that I hate. Sorry if you're a fan out there, but I hate Big Bang Theory. But Kelly Kuko did the same thing. Season 8 came up, she recontracted for this huge amount of money, almost as big as Iraq. Yes, Ron Johnson Swanson. Yes. Bit of a slip of the tongue there. Julian Bleach, who played Machiavelli, also played Davros in New Who. I didn't get into any of the New Who. Well, I mean, some of the New Who. But I stopped after Matt Smith. Swanson is the master of meats and limited government. I respect him so much. Yes. Ron Swanson is great. I've even read a couple of Nick Offerman's books. The Paddle Your Own Canoe book, which is a bit of a autobiography of him getting to Parks and Rec. Pretty good book, I'd say, for as far as like celebrity autobiographies go. Made me laugh a couple of times. Some amusing stories in there, not particularly long, and it does feel like it was actually written by him, probably edited by someone else. But when you read it, it feels like his speech patterns, like he actually sat down and wrote it and didn't get someone else to ghostwrite it for him. Like Ms. Machiavelli. Talking about Borgias. Had a thing for Cesare and Lucretia. Okay, so yes, it was Yahoo. The Community movie, I gotcha. So there talks about making a Community movie. I've heard about Young Pope. I've heard that's another good one. And you know what? HBO has done some solid shows in the past, and I think that it's worth checking out. I actually just watched the first season of True Detective, and let me say, I actually enjoyed the hell out of that first season. There was one scene in particular that got me and like hooked me on the show, and it wasn't the initial crime scene and them going through it. All of that was very good and very interesting, but it was Matthew McConaughey's character and Woody Harrelson's character actually talking to each other for the first time in the car ride. That got me. That had me hooked. The specific line was, he's like, okay, now people don't think like that around here. I don't think like that. So, well, you asked me. Let me do a bad Matthew McConaughey. Well, you asked me. It's like, and I'm begging you to shut the fuck up now. The I'm begging you to shut the fuck up line freaking got me. That one, like, I was hooked right there. Like, all right, I'm going to stick to it. I'm going to stick with this. And every episode just got progressively better and better. They slowly sprinkle out the clues and slowly give you more about the characters and their own flaws throughout. So yeah, I thought the first season was solid. I liked how they gave it a small... they make it seem like there's going to be some supernatural in there, but really it's all grounded within reality. There's no actual supernatural things going on. Particularly anytime you hear the phrase King in Yellow, that's one that you're like, oh great, are they going to go full Lovecraftian with this? Because like, it doesn't seem like something that would fit well in a full Lovecraftian setting. But no, they keep it solid, grounded. I thought season 1 was amazing for True Detective. Oh, you meant the acts of the Borgias. Oh, okay, yes. Happens to a lot of shows, unfortunately. Kaylee Kuko signed a contract as big as Iraq and her rack. Yes, she did. Offerman is a bit too wokish now. Yeah, I mean, he went to the Women's March with his wife and everything, and yeah, it's one of those things of he doesn't open his mouth up about politics too often, but when he does, it's kind of like, dude, stick with like woodworking and telling jokes. Like, those are your strong suits. But you know what? he's free to offer his opinion. I'm free to think that it isn't a very well thought out opinion that he's probably just doing because he knows he's supposed to do that in Hollywood. He's trying to build his career. That's my personal opinion. Or maybe his wife, Megan Mullally, also a very funny woman. It's politics I typically disagree with, but she's damn funny. Megan Mullally might have, pushed him to kind of do that, but who knows? Maybe that is part of his politics. Have I seen the Wednesday Addams show? No, I have not seen Wednesday Addams yet. I may. I don't know. That one didn't exactly go on my list personally. I was always more of a Munsters guy growing up. I liked the Addams Family growing up. Particularly the original with John Astin, and the movies. Those came out when I was a kid too. But I was always more of a Munsters guy personally. Yes, True Detective was awesome. I hear the second season of True Detective isn't very good, but the third season, at least as far as reviews go, the third season is very well reviewed. So I don't know, maybe I'll just skip the second season because they seem to be kind of self-contained and not really having to do anything with each other, but maybe I'll watch it. I don't know. I can just say the first season was awesome. So you watched the first two episodes, just talking about Wednesday Addams. I'll say the trailer for Wednesday seemed interesting. Interesting, just like Chris Evans, Offerman is the exact opposite of the character they play as personal political beliefs go. Yeah, it's, you know what? Credit where credit is due to, I would say, both Chris Evans and Nick Offerman, in that they were willing to put the effort in to portray someone that they are not, which is what they're supposed to do as an actor, and do it well enough that it seems convincing to where when we hear their actual personal politics, we go, man, I had kind of, unfortunate of me, and something that I should not do is build them up to have a certain expectation because of the character that they play. They might have a different opinion to my own. Say 9 times out of 10, that's fine. Once in a while, they take it way too freaking far, and it's an opinion from an artist shouldn't affect their art. Separate the art from the artist, but sometimes they just take it a little bit too far, and it's like, wow, what you're saying is cutting into my enjoyment of your other shit, which is kind of tough to do, but some of these people manage to do it. I'll say Chris Evans, Nick Offerman, I don't think any of their takes have been too bad. They just seem very default Democrat-y, in my opinion, like they're told this is what you're supposed to say, and they just go, oh, okay, and they don't think about it too hard. That's my personal opinion of it. I think he is more like that because of his wife. He is pretend. People who went to college with him said that he was based at one time. His book that he wrote, Paddle Your Own Canoe, certainly made him seem a little bit more based in comparison. But I don't know if he was ever like a particularly political guy. I think that's part of the thing, is he was never deep into politics, and so when the pressure to come out and be more political happened, particularly after the show had finished, that's when you started hearing a bit more of his politics. It was also during the Trump years, which was very divisive in Hollywood. But I can see that. Maybe he is kind of based, but his wife just doesn't let him be that way. Kind of like Prince Harry. Like, Prince Harry used to be pretty based, and then he gets married to frickin' Meghan Markle, and she has him whipped. I mean, faster than Zorro could whip someone. She fucking whipped the shit out of him. Faster than Richter Belmont. She fucking whipped him. Let's see. Heard mixed things about Wednesdays, not much like the 90s movies, but not the worst thing on Netflix so far. I'll say it's rare for Netflix to put out something that's just okay. It's either like really good or really bad, and sometimes the really good and really bad things can come out from one creator, what's his name, Flanagan. I can't remember his first name, but I want to say his last name's Flanagan. Did Haunting of Hill House. Haunting of Hill House, really good. I loved Haunting of Hill House. That's up here. Then Haunting of Bly Manor. I hated Haunting of Bly Manor. Down here, did not like it. I hear that Midnight Mass was pretty good. He also did Gerald's Game. Gerald's Game was excellent. That movie was very good. Yeah, that's up here. I recommend the hell out of Gerald's Game. I even did a short on it that you can find on this channel on my shorts that I need to finish making. Let's see. I need to watch 1899. Have heard good things. I've heard about that one too, but I think I'm gonna watch Yellowstone first. Is it 1899 or am I thinking of 1880 or is that? I don't know. I've just heard about one of those. But I think I'm going to watch Yellowstone first. But before I get to that, I got to finish watching The Orville. So, I've got a list of shit I'm trying to get through. Let's see. Liked all of these seasons of Psych. I never got into Psych. Wasn't my thing. To do a Twin Peaks episode on Psych, I take it. I like Twin Peaks. Definitely a fan of Twin Peaks. You know what? Another hot take for the internet. I even liked The Return. I liked the third season of Twin Peaks. So I know it was much weirder than the first two seasons and the first movie even. They took the weird to a different freaking level with it, and sometimes it seemed a bit egregious at the time. I also didn't care too much for the ending music video things that they did for Twin Peaks Return. But overall, I'd say it was good. I enjoyed it. Did not have the rewatch value of the first two seasons in the movie, though, in my opinion. But Twin Peaks, you know what? Twin Peaks will be another one that I am thankful for. I am thankful for Twin Peaks, 2 seasons movie, 25-year wait, and then the third season, which I still defend as being pretty darn good. Not as good, but good enough to follow it up. I think it kind of had like Top Gun. Top Gun, amazing movie. Top Gun Maverick, good movie. Doesn't quite live up to Top Gun, in my opinion, but still good. I enjoyed it. I'm going to buy it and watch it again and not regret purchasing it. So there is that. Let's see. Psych is fun. All of the 80s callouts are fun. Watched the few episodes. Oh, let's see. So like Twin Peaks, I see. What do you think of the third season? Well, you got what I think of the third season. Watched a few of the episodes from the 90s. Didn't get into it. I don't know how much the Psych homage is to it. Yeah. I couldn't say for Psych personally, but Twin Peaks, I don't know. I feel like if you're not into it within that first episode, you kind of have to like particularly the character of Cooper. You got to like Dale Cooper, Kyle MacLachlan's character, and it's not a show for everybody, in my opinion, but I think everybody should give it a chance. Should at least watch that first episode, which is a 90-minute pilot, and that's not like 90 minutes on TV. It was 2.5 hours on TV, wound up being 90 minutes, or it was 2 hours of TV time, 90 minutes of just actual content there. So you got to get through that 90-minute first episode. Let's pick up more and more and get deeper slowly as you go through. And it is a show about giving you questions to ponder over that you're not going to get answered. And I think that people need to know that going into it. You need to know going into Twin Peaks that you're not going to get the answers you're looking for, and you're not going to get closure. That's just, and it's designed that way. I'm not saying that's a problem with the show. In fact, I think it's one of the few shows that can forego giving you closure and do it well, because it's designed to be that way. 1889 is the new Netflix show, not tied to Yellowstone or anything. Okay, I'm thinking of 1883, which is not, they're not alike. Okay. Yeah, I haven't been keeping up with a lot of the new shows, but I have been noticing like Western-esque has been coming back. Western and Western-esque, in a sense, have been they have been growing in popularity lately, which might be a good thing overall, because you got to think Western movies, typically Westerns were where in the earlier days of cinema, particularly in the 50s, the 40s and 50s, I would say, and really even farther into the 60s and 70s, because the Westerns didn't really die until like the late 60s. But the Western is where we used to have the battles of ideologies, right? You'd have a Hollywood communist, dyed in the wool red communist in Hollywood would make a Western, and then you'd get a response to it, and they would sort of clash with each other back and forth. You could have this, these contrasting ideas throughout the Western genre. And I think we might get that going into the future, but I have a feeling that going into the future, the modern Westerns are going to be more along the conservative or traditionalist ideologies to combat the rest of the ones that we're seeing out there, that are prevalent in everything else. So that's just my opinion on where we might see that going. We're just going to get shows every year of the 1800s for the next 5 years. Oh, okay. Well, that's cool. Plus, Angelo Badalamenti's Twin Peaks theme song is pretty chill. Always loved it. Yes. Music very good in Twin Peaks. The acting is great. Pretty solid casting for it. I mean, kind of the regular players for David Lynch for the most part, but a lot of solid casting in there. Solid acting, solid writing, and it's some of David Lynch's. Now you have to like Lynch. You have to like good old David Lynch. But it's probably some of his best work and some of his maybe not weirdest, but most inquisitive. It's the one that puts the most amount of questions out there for you to tickle your brain with and sort of have theoretical discussions with your friends, like things like where did the Black Lodge come from? We know that Bob didn't originate from the Black Lodge, but that's just kind of weird. I kind of didn't like Bob's origin story in The Return. I just thought it was weird. Like, I get it. He was born of an atom bomb, the purest form of destruction. All that. I don't know. I just thought that was a weird origin. I felt like that question should have been left unanswered, in my opinion. Twin Peaks is the anti-Dallas. No answers ever, but at least we know who shot JR. Pretty much, yeah. That's how it goes. Yeah, I never got into Dallas, but I do know that's the one that has like the biggest ending controversy ever, because it was Dallas, right, that had the last season, or the last episode reveals that the final season was just a fever dream, essentially, which would have really pissed a lot of people off. Eraserhead was suffering to make it through, though. Yeah, Eraserhead is it's some of Lynch's weird for weird's sake, which The Return also suffers from, is weird for weird's sake. Whereas the original two have weird, but it's weird that fits solidly within the world building that we've been given so far, and just adds a nice quirk to it. And we can kind of try and rationalize through our own ideas of quantum physics and, philosophy and mysticism as to how these things could be in existence. Whereas The Return and certain things like Eraserhead are just kind of weird. But I think I've got time to do at least one more of these. I'm going to pop out. I've already talked about them, but it's a show that I am thankful for, and it is Venture Bros. At some point in time, I've got to... I'm still not used to dealing with this weird thing. It's a show that I am definitely thankful for. It's one of my all-time favorites. The DVDs and Blu-rays for it are amazing. Every time I've cracked open one of these Blu-rays, it's felt like an experience to crack open the season and actually sit down and finally watch it, because I didn't have cable. Look at this one for season 3, trying to not give you guys too much shine here. But look at that. It's got this old, early 80s, late 70s, early 80s. Almost looks like a video game. It's supposed to look like an Atari thing. The inside's kind of basic. But I'm also missing a disc. Am I? It's just one disc. I think it's just one disc. Yeah, season 3 is only 13 episodes, but 13 solid episodes. I think what makes I am well, it hasn't popped up here yet. I can see it in the other chat. I am a bro for that Venture Bros. Yes, I am. I stan Venture Bros. It doesn't have the strongest fandom out there, which is why I stand for it, and I try to get more people to watch it. I mean, it is. If you grew up watching any of the 70s early morning Saturday morning cartoons, this is the deconstruction of that, but not in the modern annoying way. It's a solid deconstruction of what would happen if essentially Johnny Quest grew up and was a deadbeat dad. That's what Venture Bros is. And it just, every episode will make you laugh. Every episode will get you more interested in wanting to see the next one. It's just great. Pop culture references left and right. It feels like jokes that you make with your friends, but put to a script and then animated in a very wild, very weird world of, cheesy 1970s comic book heroes and villains, with a bit of Doc Savage and, modern day, psychological issues thrown in there. Plus, the creators are just cool dudes. They're not particularly political with any of their messaging. In fact, the one episode where they get somewhat political and talk about like modern day issues is them bitching about the fact that, the two different sides of the aisle are constantly complaining because they don't get every little thing that they want, and that you need to come together and compromise. This is how we're supposed to work our two-party system. And they wrap it in a nice allegory. So that's like the one episode where they get political. Other than that, it's just pop culture jokes left and right, one after another. I have damn near pissed myself, and I have watched other people actually piss themselves at the jokes on these shows. I've known two people who almost choked to death from the jokes. It's just great writing. This was the last hand-drawn animation show on network television before it got unduly canceled before the final season. So I am thankful for Venture Bros. I am thankful for the creators and everything that they put out, Jackson Public and Doc Hammer. I am thankful that they are trying to give the fans what they want. One of the few creators out there that legitimately care for their fans and legitimately want to give us what we want, and that they wanted to give us one more season 8, to finish it all off. They couldn't. They were canceled because there was a change of companies as to who owned Adult Swim at the time and Cartoon Network. It went from, I can't remember who originally, I think Time Warner owned it, and I think it went to AT&T. And the AT&T execs axed it, so unfortunately it got cut off. But they've got the movie together. They've already done, the script is written, voice acting is done. They're trying to get it animated right now, and I believe it's going to be released on HBO, but that hasn't been actually, nothing has actually been said about where it's going to be released, but I'm thinking it's going to be HBO. So yeah, I am thankful for Venture Bros. And yes, I am a stand for it. I will always stand for it. I know it's not everybody's cup of tea, but I'd say give it a try. The pilot is a little bit rough. The very first episode, I can't even remember the name of the pilot. And then the first episode is a little bit stronger. Dia de los Dangerous. A little bit stronger, but just all throughout the series. Same as with Parks and Rec. Venture Bros just gets better and better as you go on until you get to the end. Cannot talk about how much I love it. And I'll do a very quick honorable mention before I move on to my last bit of media that I am thankful for. Quick honorable mention, Avatar: The Last Airbender. I was in high school when this show was coming out. Absolutely loved it. Bought the DVD box set. I just had to slide it out. It wasn't wanting to stay in without me pinching it. Can't say enough about how amazing this show is. 3 seasons that just get better the whole way through. That's one thing that all of these timeless shows that I am thankful for have in common. They get better all the way through. 2 out of the 3 have a solid ending that wraps everything up in a nice little bow. So, and one of those is Avatar. Top-notch 4-part ending to this. Little bit rocky at the beginning, but solid enough to get you interested. still going to get interested off of the first episode, and all throughout the first season of this, gets stronger in the second season, even stronger in the third season. This is one of the few shows where the villain actually has a better character arc, and if not the strongest character growth throughout the show of Zuko. But even with that, all of the main cast of characters have rough beginnings, and they have to grow beyond their issues. They have to learn to deal with their shortcomings and how they can work together to take on an ultimate baddie of the Fire Lord, voiced by Mark Hamill, which, you know, say what you will about Mark Hamill. He's a damn good voice actor. So, Zombie Box Reviews heading out, getting late where you are. Well, thank you for stopping by, sir. Glad you could come and join us. The Avatar: The Last Airbender, the Americans' own anime attempt. You know what? They attempted anime, and I think they succeeded, in my personal opinion. Probably one of the reasons is because they hired actual Japanese animators for it. I can't remember. Is it Japanese or Korean animators for this? I'd have to look that up. I'm not sure. It's some kind of Asian. Yes. That was just the quick honorable mention. Yes, catch you later, Zombie Box Reviews. Have a good one. Final thing I'm going to bring up for types of media that I'm thankful for. This is something that I have been a regular. It's a game. So, game, D&D. I've been a regular player for 16 years now. Since I was 16 years old, now 32. 16 years I have been a regular at least once a week, if not twice a week. Sometimes during certain points in time, upwards of 4 times a week, I have sat down and played some tabletop games of different varieties. These days, I am on Classic, either AD&D or OD&D or one of the OSRs. This is probably the biggest life-changing bit of media in my life. Tabletop gaming, particularly fantasy tabletop gaming. That's kind of the forte I go for. We've played some horror, some Call of Cthulhu. My group's just not into sci-fi. None of us are into sci-fi for tabletop. We love it for movies, books, any of that stuff. TV shows, we'll watch sci-fi. Pretty much all of us across the board. Only one of my friends, my regular gamers, my regular gaming group, is into even the thought of sci-fi games. The rest of us are just like, no, not feeling it. Sorry, needed to hydrate. Some nervous drinking there. For Avatar: The Last Airbender, both were Korean and Japanese overworked but underpaid animators. Yeah, I believe that. I absolutely believe that. In fact, Venbros, bring it back to that, also animated in Korea, because that's the only place that does hand-drawn animation anymore is Korea. So that's where they do it. And heck, even in certain places like that, hand-drawn animation is a rarity. But we're talking about Dungeons and Dragons. This is what has kept my friend group together I've had the same friend group for 12 years now, coming up on 13 years. And this has been the glue of our friendships. Now, it's not just this, right? We're just friends. We would be friends even if we all had to stop playing tabletop games. We'd still be friends. But this is what has brought us together every week. Every single week. For 12 years, we get together. We chat for the first hour or so. Then we actually sit down and play the game. And there's just something about having the interactive social aspect of it, of even if you're just playing like a dungeon grinder where it's number crunching and all of that, there's still something good about the interactive and imaginative aspect of it that you don't get from sitting down and playing multiplayer video games. And maybe it's part of the reason that I'm actually not a big fan of non-couch co-op multiplayer video games. Couch co-op, I'm all for. There's certain games, like later tonight, I should be playing some Mario Kart over on Ord's World here on YouTube. Might be on Ord's Twitch channel. Just check out Ord's. It's Ord's Board on Twitter. He'll be saying what's going on there. Mario Kart being one of the few exceptions for multiplayer games I can get down for. But other than that, I prefer something about having the direct social interaction. So I like couch co-op video games. I like tabletop games where you have to actually talk about what you're doing. There's no one prescribed way to deal with the problems that you're commonly met with. You can be a bit more imaginative. If it's not coded into a video game that you can jump up and grab a chandelier and swing across the room and try and bring your sword down on an enemy in a downward striking fashion. You can't do that in every video game, but you can do it in D&D. So, but other than that, you have role-playing aspects. The game can really be tailored to any table. My group, more of a classic dungeon crawl group. In fact, I will show you the most returned to single dungeon that we have ever gone through in D&D. We spent 10 years bashing our heads against this dungeon off and on for different time periods. Usually, I'd say during that 10-year time, we probably spent just 5 years of gaming on this one dungeon that we still have not properly beaten. And that is, let me grab it. Rapanathuk, the Dungeon of Graves by Necromancer Games and Frog God Games. It's now just Frog God Games. Came out originally, was Necromancer, now it's Frog God. This is a sick, nasty dungeon. See, this is how we like our plan. It's this big, fat tome of sick, nasty dungeon that you are told going into it, you're not going to win. You are told that you're going to die at some point in time. And so far, that has been the case. For 10 years, like I said, we went at it, at this dungeon, trying to beat it. Our last attempt, it was 2 players with 1 person running. Each of the 2 players was running 3 characters, and all 3 of us had, at one point in time, run Rapanathuk. We had run this dungeon, meaning we had read the book and we know what happens, and we were allowed to metagame. So even with having metagame knowledge and being allowed to metagame, we couldn't do it. Couldn't beat it. Could not make it through it. So there is that. One of these days we'll get back to it. We've gone 2 years without touching this dungeon. It's the longest period I think we've gone without playing Rapanathuk. But that's probably the piece of media that I am most thankful for. It all comes back to Dungeons & Dragons, and this isn't quite the original, but close enough, Advanced Dungeons & Dragons. And we played different iterations and different, fan-made alternatives to the original Dungeons & Dragons, like Labyrinth Lord is another one we play. Particularly Advanced Labyrinth Lord, which is more for the basic expert style of role-playing games. So we have different game systems that we use to play different types of games, but overall it's just fantasy tabletop role-playing using a D20 system. And I have actually found that the older styles are better by far than the new ones. 5th edition, way too overcomplicated. You should be able to just run up and hit it with your sword, and if you're a fighter, you're going to be effective at hitting it with your sword. You shouldn't be having to stack X ability with Y feat, and there's this magic item that I have, and when I put all of these together, then I can be a viable character and actually be good. As a fighter, you should be able to just hit it with your sword and be good, and these are much simpler in that, so that you can just get into the damn game, just play the damn game. Your character should be individual by their actions, not by their abilities. And I think that old style does that much better. Let's see. Asking if Heron, Mass Effect or Dragon Age, which one do you prefer more? Like Dragon Age lore more. Love both, though. I should ask fantasy or sci-fi. Yeah. Fantasy is more my thing, but again, I love both. Yeah, you know what? That's a tough one to choose. Dragon Age or Mass Effect. I will say, as far as continuing past the first game, Mass Effect does better. Mass Effect 2, Mass Effect 3, much better than Dragon Age 2 or Dragon Age Inquisition. Even though I didn't play Dragon Age 2 or Inquisition, I only played Origins. Just everything I've seen of them, particularly Dragon Age 2, that game is regularly shown to be a broken game. That is a full-on downgrade from the first game in every aspect. I've heard Inquisition is pretty good, but doesn't quite live up to Origins. But, a game being good should be good enough to make it worth playing. Whereas Mass Effect 3 it is at least solid all the way through. Like I said before, up until that last little bit. But other than that, I'd say Mass Effect had better staying power, though I do think, in my opinion, Dragon Age Origins was better than Mass Effect 1 as far as the character interaction and multiple endings go. I think that Dragon Age Origins was much better for really being able to push the aspects of branching story and multiple endings much better than original Mass Effect. Mass Effect 1, spoiler alerts for anyone who's out there. If you don't want to hear spoilers about the ending of first Mass Effect, earmuffs, plug your ears and hum John Jacob Jingleheimer Schmidt. Mass Effect 1, the only real difference of the ending is, do you kill the Council or do you let the Council live? And it really has no impact moving forward after that. It's just whether or not you get Paragon or Renegade points. So the branching paths and choices matter thing kind of doesn't matter in Mass Effect. And I think that's the biggest failing for the ending of Mass Effect 1 and the ending of Mass Effect 3. You're coming to the same outcome no matter what. It's just a different cosmetics, where I feel Dragon Age Origins was better at, branching paths. Even though I will say I definitely put more time into Mass Effect than Dragon Age Origins. So yes, Origins was the best. Inquisition has its charms. I've heard Inquisition is just a good game, and that should be enough for me to give it a try, but I've got enough on my backlist. I've got too many games I've already beaten that I have to play through again. Now, more sci-fi now, when Daniel was younger, was more into fantasy, but it's never really 50-50 though. See, I don't know, I've sort of always been more fantasy. I've been more on the fantasy side than the sci-fi side. I like both. I'll say I sort of go back and forth, where I'll be predominantly more into fantasy overall, and then have times where I'm predominantly more into sci-fi overall, and then I'll have times where I sort of balance them both out. Now, if I were to talk about the fact that I'm playing, 8 hours of tabletop games every week, and it's just different versions of fantasy, depending on what day it is, I could say that would make fantasy much more prevalent in my life. But as far as I like both. I think fantasy is typically more preferred for me in most cases, but like my sci-fi, I love my Star Trek. I will always go back and rewatch some Next Generation, some Deep Space Nine. Hell, I'll watch the OG movies and the Next Gen movies. I'll always go back to some Star Trek. So I like my sci-fi too. I like Battlestar Galactica, I like Mass Effect. I like a lot of different sci-fi. So it's kind of I like different ones for different things. That's what I'll say. But I do typically lean more fantasy. I have not read Asimov's Foundation or Robot series. I think I have the first of the Robot series. I never got around to reading it. I picked it up from a book barn sale years ago. Never got around to reading it. Well, everybody, it's been an excellent stream. I've loved talking to you guys this week. I hope everybody out there had a wonderful Thanksgiving, a happy Thanksgiving. And I hope everyone had a good Black Friday. If you were planning on getting any deals, do it online. Fuck going out. Do that shit online. You can find some pretty good deals on Amazon. I saved 20% on a coffee bean grinder today, so I got it for $30 instead of $35. So yeah, do some shopping online. Don't leave your house. Give yourself a day to be lazy. Especially if you have not had just a day or a couple of days to be lazy recently, and you have the opportunity right now, I think that's one thing we should do during the holiday seasons, especially a lot of people out there. I know a lot of you out there are hard workers, probably doing a lot to keep yourself moving forward and to provide for yourself and probably for others too. So take some time during this holiday season to let yourself relax, because you deserve it. Spend some time with some family, spend some time with some movies or some video games or some books. Just, you got to have that time to recharge your batteries. So, and I'm thinking of you, Duck Dangerously, because you were jumping all over the place recently. You're going shopping, coming home, going to other people's houses, and then you're going to fly down to Florida in a week. I think you're going to have to wait until Christmas, because it sounds like you're friggin' busy coming up soon. So, but for you, that Christmas holiday, that's when you need to get your relaxed time. Just see, Heron's with me here. Been lazy all day. Dude, I woke up, cooked breakfast, did dishes, played video games. I'm here with you guys now. That's what's been going on for me. And you know what? The plan for the rest of my day is to play freaking video games. I should be over on Ord's World on YouTube tonight. You know what? I'm going to check, see if there's anything on the interwebs about that yet. Let's see. Am I seeing anything here? Don't know if he's made any announcements at the moment. I think he usually starts around 11 o'clock Eastern. I think his plan is to start 10 o'clock Central. Not sure. Haven't heard anything yet from Ords. So keep an eye on his Twitter, because that's probably where you'll find out. I'll drop it in the chat right here. Ords Twitter. I'm going to reach past all these damn movies and books to type that in. There we go. Check him out there. Go follow Ords. We'll be doing some Mario Kart later. I know last week was kind of the setup, kind of the test for it. It'll either be on YouTube or Twitch. Whoa, hold up a second. Picked up a 1911 A1 at 40% off. Dude, shit, yeah, who made it? I'm not a big 1911 fan myself. I get why people are. It is a solid platform. That was the sidearm for World War II and beyond. Before and after World War II, friggin' 1911, the sidearm, solid platform. Just for me personally, I like for a carry gun in particular, I like a subcompact. I carry a Hellcat, but hell yeah, picking up a 1911 A1 at 40% off, that is sweet. I also tend to not want to spend as much money as people want for a 1911. Rock Island, one of my previous coworkers had that was his carry, his carry arm, carry gun was Rock Island 1911. But he's really skinny, and so it kept dragging his damn pants down when he carried it on his waist. Even like outer waistband, it was dragging his pants down. So he wound up getting a knee holster for it, which I thought was, I don't know, it looked like he was wearing leg braces a little bit, but you know what? It worked for him. That's why I like the subcompact. I like my Hellcat. But, 1911 is a solid platform, and people who like 1911s like 1911. And I think that's one of the most important things. For all of these movies and for firearms, the most important thing is, do you like it? And it is a solid platform. Can you trust your life with it? Can you trust other people's lives with it in case you're having to do something in defense of others? But namely, can you trust your own life with it? And are you comfortable with it? That's what's important. So if you like the 1911, Rock Island is a solid one. Not quite as ridiculously expensive as like the Kimber or some of the other ones out there, but It's, from what I understand, reliable. I mean, my old coworker killed a couple of hogs with his, so they work. You can put down a hog with it. So, it's a solid platform, solid build, solid maker. Yeah, nice picking up on that. I didn't want to leave the house, but what, I probably should have. If I was going to get a firearm, today would have been the day. I'm just pretty much covered with what I would like to have at the moment. But yeah. Still had a 1911 A1 in my reserve unit, an 81, 89. Yeah, you know what? There's people still carrying a 1911 because they prefer the 45 and the 9mm, which I get. I get that. You want to put a freaking hole through a dude? 45 is a good way to go. You want to put a hole into a dude, but more of them? 9mm is the way you want to go. So I just prefer 9mm personally. My personal choice. But I can't say anything. I also have a freaking Smith & Wesson 40, pistol. So nobody cares about a Smith & Wesson 40. I like it. I think it's a solid round. That works. But nonetheless, I'm getting onto a diatribe here about firearms now. That wasn't what this stream was about. This is about being grateful in all of these things that I have here. Put the whole freaking stack up. Let's face all of these out so you can read them. Yeah, here's just a single stack of the media out there that I am thankful for. All of these, to all of the creators who had anything to do with these. I wanted to thank you for putting these out, for helping me get through some hard times, helping me get through some just boring times, helping me keep my hopes up and inspiring me to do all sorts of different things. I mean, if these things didn't exist, I wouldn't have this channel, right? I wouldn't be out here talking to you guys right now and reviewing movies if there wasn't great media out there for me to review. And it's something I'm passionate about. It's something I care about. It's something I would like to see get back to its former greatness, former glories. And I think we will get there one day. It's going to take some time, but we'll get there one day. Yes, guns and films in the same sentence. America, fuck yeah. Yep. And you know what? Right around American holiday season, so gotta go full on American here. Films, guns. They're our two biggest exports, right behind food. Films, guns, and food. Those are our three biggest exports these days, and culture. We ship our culture all over the world. We picked that up from England, though, so thank you, England, for teaching us how to ship culture all over the world. It's done wonders for us. Yes, everybody out there, you can find me tonight, hopefully, as I've said, Ord's World, playing some Mario Kart. Sunday, also over on Ord's World YouTube channel, for the Sunday morning podcast, where we get high and talk about nostalgia, which is kind of like this, but I'm high. And Ord's is high, and we'll get Snowdove in there, is usually there. Sometimes we get Tom Connors from Midnight's Edge After Dark. Sometimes we get Dark News in there, so it's always a good time. Come check us out. Lots of laughs over on Sunday morning podcast. And then Tuesday, you can find me over at Supreme Heretics channel for United Resistance. Damn, I always stumble on that name. I don't know why. It's Drew. He's my friend. United Resistance. That's a show. I do it every week. We just had our 50th episode last week, and it was great. And if you haven't seen it, you should go check out the replay on that. Tuesday's episode of United Resistance on Supreme Heretic. 50th episode. We had 3 guests in there. It was a great time. Went for a lot longer than normal, too. It was a good... We went for 2.5 hours. Go check that out on the replay if you haven't seen it. And then Friday, you will find me back here with Megan. She'll be back next week. And we will be doing one of my all-time favorites, The Maltese Falcon. I believe it came out in 1941. Don't quote me on that, but it really paved the way for film noir. And there's a lot to dig into there. There's a lot to analyze. As always, we're only going to go over a couple of scenes. We're not going to go over the whole movie. This ain't EFAP. We don't have 9 hours. Just going to do a couple of scenes. We'll dig into them. And I think that this movie will be rife for analysis. It really helped to set up a lot of the tone and texture and style that was used well throughout the remainder of the 40s and into the 50s even. Amazing film, top to bottom, solid cast, solid writing. It's a whodunit. It's a mystery. You've got a MacGuffin. You've got you've got your lead character who drinks too much. He smokes too much. He's an asshole, and he's out for the truth. He's out for truth and justice. It's the original anti-hero genre, without having to have your forced anti-hero tropes, because they created the damn tropes. So check us out next Friday, 8:30, for the Maltese Falcon. And that is all I have to say for today. I hope all of you have a wonderful day. Be excellent to each other. Party on, dudes. Good luck and good night.
No. He's looking at you, kid.
Goodbye, Boo.
Kitty.
Kitty has to go.
I'll see you. Not if I see you first.
Hello.
Grandpa? Maybe you could come over and read it again to me tomorrow.
As you wish.